strange week in New Jersey. It always is, right before the playoffs get started. It's hard to figure out how to do a show because there's just not that many games of high level. But the one good thing about this show is Mike Kinney will continue to make friends and make enemies because the K-Man is here with some predictions. A lot of pressure on you this week, pal.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm used to it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, up in Del Barton country, they are upset with you, correct?
Oh, yeah. A little upset that I mentioned last week, a little upset that when you asked me a few weeks ago, who would go farther, Immaculata or Del Barton? And I said Immaculata. And they were a little miffed about that, thinking that what I said was Del Barton was a better team than Immaculata. And I had to clarify and say what I implied there was that Bergen Catholic would win A and Del Barton wouldn't, and Immaculata was good enough to win B this year. That's what I meant. As far as going farther. But yeah, part of the territory.
And you will be talking about both of those teams, Del Barton and Immaculata, in just a second. Sit tight. Just one highlight in this show, and here we go. Back to early last week as Bergen Catholic would travel to Montclair, and Michael Riley, the senior, going to get the rebound. He's going to get the goal. Doesn't matter how you get the goals as long as you get the goals. That's probably one of the easier ones Riles has ever had. And then the coach's kid, Joe Hammerly's son, Matty, little bounce shot, Crusaders rolling 5-0. And then here it's the hammer, the tack hammer to Trevor Wingarton, who is just a terrific sophomore. And then Riley, who got his 100th career point in the victory against Kinnelon the next game, would get the goal there. Chris Blewett, 5 goals and 5 assists. Mike, I talked to Kark about Blewett, and when he ranked his top attack men, he's going to do a Super 7. There's a good chance later this week that Blewett, the St. Joe's bounder, who's going to play in Philly next year, he may sneak his way onto that Super 7 Tri-State attack list. You agree?
Yeah, he's having a terrific year. I mean, it surprised me how good, how explosive he is, and how consistent he is. I mean, I knew we all knew he was good, but he's having a fantastic year. He's really tough to stop, and Kark knows what he's talking about. If he's thinking about putting him on that list, he's thinking about that for a good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Hammer loves him because we were talking the other day. You almost use a baseball analogy, like a switch hitter.
Yeah.
It's hard to cover Blewett because you don't know which hand he's going to go with. So he's that good. Mike, we lost some more teams to this. There are now, of the 193 schools that play varsity lacrosse in the Garden State, there are only 4 remaining unbeaten teams. And Coach Hammers, well, his Crusaders are one of them. One of the teams we lost last week is it a surprise that Mo Beard went down to Rutgers Prep? Rutgers Prep's getting healthy, huh?
It surprised the way they did, yeah. I thought it would be, if they did go down, it was going to be a really close game, and it wasn't. Rutgers Prep was pretty dominating in the game. And, Rutgers Prep is getting healthy, and I think that surprised Mo Beard. I think they caught them by surprise at just how thorough Rutgers Prep played as a team, because they hadn't for most of the season, but they got a couple really important bodies back, and they're a different team. Yeah, they're looking a little more like last year's team that won in non-public B. Yeah.
I am really putting the pressure on you when it comes to the Morris County playoffs, because what we're going to ask the K-Man to do now is pick 4 counties who he thinks will make it to the semifinals, and then the champion. Now, what's difficult about this, they won't play the championship game until next Tuesday. So you have 8 days to mess up. So here we go. Morris County, which is the best county in New Jersey for lacrosse. Nobody's going to argue that. Mike Kinney, who's getting to the semifinals?
Semifinals. It's going to be Del Barton against Kinnelon and Mountain Lakes against Chatham.
Here's what I like about that Del Barton-Kinnelon game. Now, while Kinnelon did not beat Bergen Catholic, they opened up everybody's eyes last week when they only fell by 3 to the Crusaders. It's the first time this year Bergen Catholic has not hit double digits. I guarantee you that has J.J. McBride, Dowiak, and all those guys has the interest of Del Barton, knowing Kinnelon's not going to be any pushover.
Oh, it's got their interest. And I'll tell you what, it also has, though, it has Kinnelon's confidence. These guys are playing very confident, and that game opened their eyes as to how good a team they can be and how much they can surprise. And let me tell you, when they go into that Del Barton game, there isn't going to be an ounce of pressure on Kinnelon, and those guys are going to believe they can do something really special in that game, and they're going to play fearless. Because I've seen Kinnelon when they do it, and they can play fearless. They will go after ground balls. They will do a lot of the dirty things that Del Barton doesn't mind doing it either. But sometimes when a team that's supreme gets involved in a game like that, the team that's on the scrap, they're the ones who have the advantage. And Kinnelon can take an advantage in that game.
Earlier this year, Del Barton beat Mountain Lakes by a goal late. Mackey got the game winner, but you have in the overall Morris County title game the Lakers beating the Green Wave. Why?
Well, Lakes is on a mission right now, and I had that sense when they were talking about the Chatham game last year. If people recall, Chatham pummeled Mountain Lakes in the semifinals last year, a 12-4 game, and ended up losing to Del Barton in the final of the Morris County tournament. But Mountain Lakes is hot over that game. So they got Chatham in the semis. They're not looking ahead. They got Chatham in the semis if they get to that semis. And they right now are playing very good lacrosse. They're playing. The one thing that would concern me about Mountain Lakes right now is how they do in the face-off. They're compensating with great wing work and with strong play in the box, all face-offs, but they're not winning face-offs. And that would concern me against Del Barton in the final. But yeah, Mountain Lakes is a team right now that's playing very cohesive, very efficiently, and their defense has been outstanding. And I think in a 12-11 game, I think you turn that around. Mountain Lakes is the team now that has to prove something against Del Barton. They're going to want to.
In a county that will send the most players to play college lacrosse, Morris County, Villanova is getting what you feel is the county's best player in the Cooch, Christian Cuccinello, Mountain Lakes.
That's a tough call. I love J.J. McBride. I love Brian Bagley. I love a lot of the guys in the county, but I think right now Cooch is the most important player to his team in the county in big games. He has delivered in big games. He did last year for them, too. When they lost in the county final, Cooch was a guy who played fantastic as Mountain Lakes went and won Group 1. And right now he's playing supreme lacrosse, and he's making everybody around him better. Brad Smith is such a better attackman because Cooch is there, and defenders have to respect what Cooch does when he dodges and goes topside. He goes topside, he can take two guys with him to the cage. That's going to leave at least one guy open, and guys like Smith have been the beneficiaries of that. So yeah, I think Cooch right now is the most important offensive player.
Before JC held Bergen Catholic to 8 goals, which nobody has done, was he your best goaltender for Kinnelon in the county before the Bergen game?
Yes, he was. I thought he was my best goalie going into the season, Mike. I've loved this kid for 4 years, and when he was a freshman, he did some special things. And I love what he does. He's excellent in the cage. He has great hands. His outlet passes are beautiful. He plays outside the cage well, and he plays with absolutely no fear. He will stop anything that comes his way. He's kept Kinnelon in a lot of games against a lot of good teams this year.
It's going to be very interesting because if Trevor Baptiste wins a bunch of face-offs, JC is going to have to make a bunch of saves. This was what you felt the toughest quarterfinal game to pick, Mo Beard and Kinnelon. So if Baptiste wins a whole bunch of face-offs, maybe it's not Kinnelon playing against Del Barton.
Yeah, that's a great call. Baptiste, I said, and I say that with some reservation too. I did say Baptiste as the top face-off guy, because Connor Mackey is fabulous for Del Barton too. But again, I go to this point that Baptiste is more important to Morristown Baird's success than I think Mackey is to Del Barton, because that team is just so good, that Del Barton team. And if Baptiste is not winning faceoffs, Morristown Baird's not going to win the games. It's as simple as that. But yeah, Callie, he would have to come up big in that game to beat Morristown Baird. But I do believe that Kinnelon's wing people and Kinnelon's defense can do a good job of containing him if he does win faceoffs. But yeah, Callie's going to have to come up big in that game, because Morristown Baird can shoot. They can score some goals, and he'll have to step up big, and I believe he will.
You're not 100% sure who Bergen's going to get in the semifinals, but you needed to make a pick between the Bosco-Ramapo game. Why is Ramapo going to meet Bergen in the semifinals?
Ramapo's got Nate Chung in cage, and Nate Chung has a fabulous year in goal. And I love their ball movement. They've just become a really solid team. They played the top teams in the division really well. But I think when it comes down to it, Nate Chung is a kid who stays composed in the cage. He makes plays. He moves his defenders around so well, and he's outstanding on getting the ball going on the other side of the field. So I think, Don Bosco is not the shooting team they've been in past years, and what they'll shoot against Chung, I think, will not be enough to beat them.
We both say Bergen will win that game. So if you're Hammerly and the guys, who do you want to see win the other semifinal game that you think will happen between Northern Highlands and Ridgewood?
That's a great question. I don't know. Mike, I'm going to say I'd rather see Ridgewood. And the reason being is because they know Ridgewood better, and I think the kids from Bergen would have more, you hate to say it, but I think they'd have more respect for Ridgewood in that game. Now, I think if you talk to Joe does not want to face pounds, as far as going to X's and O's against Mike. Mm-hmm. Northern Highlands is a little more of a team that's, a little more mysterious because they've never been here before in this kind of game. That's a dangerous team. They're a team that can really score. They're a team that's playing fantastic right now in all elements of their game. And the only loss they have is against Bergen Catholic. And I think going into the game, if it's Bergen and Northern Highlands, I think the Bergen kids might be thinking about that game a little too much, a little too readily. And, they handled Northern Highlands pretty well in that game. They handled Ridgewood, too. But they handled Northern Highlands pretty well. But I think Bergen Catholic's attention would be sharper against Ridgewood. So I think Joe might say, give me Ridgewood in this game. Not Northern Highlands. Northern Highlands scares me.
For what it's worth, I think if Ridgewood beats Northern Highlands, Bergen Catholic better watch out in the championship Saturday afternoon at Mahwah High School. You always have to worry about kids with 3 names. And your county best overall player, Holden Rosengrupp from Northern Highlands. Why?
You know what? He's a kid who, again, I look at the mystery factor. He's a kid that people in the county respect, but don't think of necessarily as the best guy. He's so versatile. He does everything for this team. He scores big time. He's in the 60s as far as points. He makes everybody on the field better of that group. But he also defends. He gets ground balls. He could play attack for you. He could play midfield for you. He could do anything. He's a kid who the reason they're so good is because Holden Rosengrupp has been a kid who's kind of carried this group along. He's been a 4-year starter, and they are at a place they've never been before because of his versatility. He's really, you look around the state, he's one of the top guys who can do so many different jobs, and that's why. Is he the best at scoring? No. Is he the best at getting ground balls in Bergen? No. But you put everything together. I just love the kid's versatility.
You talked about Chung and the goal at Ramapo. I think it's pretty interesting. A lot of times in sport, if you have 2 guys playing one position, there's a lot of people who may say, well, you have nobody at that position. But in the position of face-off, it's very interesting when everything is about tendency. You have 2 guys for the same school, so nobody can read their tendencies. Both kids from Bergen, and it has worked perfectly for the Hammer.
That this is exactly right, and that's a great point, Mike. When you say usually when there's 2 kids, that means there's a weakness. This is such a strength because other face-off guys cannot acclimate themselves to the 2 different styles of Brendan Mackey and Trevor Weingarten. You got one guy who's a little quicker in Mackey, one guy who is a little more explosive, and Trevor is so strong, he's so tough, and he's so physical that he just gives you a whole different dimension in that box. And they both can play lacrosse, though. These are not Fogo guys. These are both lacrosse players. They can stay on the field and they can help you. They can not only get the offense started on transition, but they can stay on the field and keep the offense strong, and they can also pedal back and play defense if that's what's necessary too. So their versatility, their 2 completely different styles of play make it brutal for opposing face-up guys. They're outstanding.
According to the K-Man, there's going to be a new champion in Somerset County because you don't think Ridge, the Red Devils, are going to win it this year. They're getting to the semifinal, but they're not going to win it.
Yeah, they're getting to the semifinal, and you know what? They're getting to the semifinal in a very tough game too. They got to beat Pingree. Pingree beat Ridge 2 weeks ago, and I saw the game, and it was convincing. And I know Pingree right now is scratching their head, going, "Mike Kinney, what were you looking at? We beat Ridge pretty handily," and they did. And Pingree's an outstanding team. But I do believe Ridge is riding the ship right now, and I think that they'll be prepared to beat Pingree in that semifinal. But I don't think they can beat Immaculata in the championship. I think Immaculata right now is a team that has too many pieces in too many different positions, and that's going to take them over the top. This Immaculata team reminds me of their team about 3 years ago, when they had such strength at the face-off with D'Agostino and so many guys who can play who can do so many different things. The Vanderbeek brothers are phenomenal when when they're together, and they're hard to beat because these three brothers know exactly what the other one's doing on the field, and they're physical and fast.
If you're Somerville Ridge or Pingree, you're just kind of hoping that a flu bug runs through the Vanderbeek household during the playoffs. You like Immaculata to win it, but when you look at the best players in the county, JT Palladino from Ridge going to Harvard, and one of the things that's happened to Ridge on the back half of this season, there's been a scoring drought. They're not scoring the way they did last year and the beginning of this season.
That's right, they're not. You know why? Because Eric Scott's not there anymore. You're talking about the guy who was one of the premier quarterbacks of the last 6-7 years in the state of New Jersey, and he was our player. He was my player of the year, and I still don't think he got the respect he deserved from other people, from other area. Not coaches. Coaches loved him and hated to play against him, but other people in the area, just fans, didn't understand how good he was because he never put up great numbers. This year they understand how good he was because Ridge is not doing the same things offensively they were able to. Plus Alec Berkeley's not there taking faceoffs for Ridge, and he was phenomenal too. But JT Palladino, he's getting, he's getting shut off all the time. Everybody knows about him. Everybody's trying to stop him. He's a guy, Quigley too, but Palladino's a guy they know they have to stop, and JT still is putting up big numbers for Ridge. And if the other guys can come around and start to score a little bit, you're going to see just how fantastic JT is. He still has, he's over 30, he's almost 60 points this year, even though everyone knows he's the man to stop. So last year he was a key figure in their tournament champions, and this year, same kind of thing. He's playing fantastic with Ross. I love what the kid does.
I think it's interesting when you look at Rutgers Prep, you don't have the Prep getting to the semifinals, but Clipstein is your best goalie in the county. Why?
That's a tough call too, because I love Owen Malloy from Ridge, but I just think he's done a fantastic job of keeping Rutgers Preps, with all the injuries they had. He did a great job of keeping the confidence up, and when they beat Morristown Bear and they talked to other kids on the team, they were saying, Christian is a guy he's the glue. He kept this thing together. He's the guy we rely on. He's the guy we always had faith in. And he's such a bright kid. He's such a steady kid. He's already committed to Bucknell. He's a junior. And he's a great shot stopper. But more than that, he's a leader. He's a quarterback. He communicates so well with everybody back there. And the way they're rising now, they're going to be a big figure the rest of the way, and yet I don't believe that they can carry it on through the tournament. But I still believe that he, to this day, has had the most impressive games in cage. Owen Malloy's fantastic, but he also has an outstanding defense in front of him that's helped him this year. And I think Clipstein is just has been so impressive amid all the injuries they've had.
You know why those Vanderbeeks are scoring all those goals is because Paulie's winning all those faceoffs.
This kid's phenomenal. He's outstanding. I think he's one of the best faceoff guys in the state, not only in Somerset County, and he quietly did it. Last year was a sophomore. Nobody really knew who he was, but he did a good job. And Immaculata had a pretty strong season last year, and they did, I thought, because Razimowicz was a kid who just was winning so many faceoffs and getting the balls to the Vanderbeeks and getting the ball to the people who were dangerous. And now this year he's dominating. If you look at games they've had, Immaculata's possession time is incredible because Razimowicz just will not lose faceoffs, and their wing guys are fantastic too. Connor Vanderbeek and oh gosh, who's the other guy? Their other faceoff guy. I'm sorry, it escapes me right now. But they're fantastic. They're wing guys for Razimowicz, and he knows and he trusts them. But he can win. He can win on the clamp, and he can win on the sweep too. And he's having a great year.
It would be a big surprise in Essex if Seton Hall Prep didn't win it. One of their losses, first game of the season to Del Barton, a game they kind of gave away, should have won that game. Heartbreaking loss last week in overtime to Summit. So their body of work outside the county has said, okay, the Pirates are built to win this game.
Yeah, the body of work is definitely strong in the county. You know, they've already handled pretty well the other teams that will be factors in this tournament. Glen Ridge, being one of them. West Essex possibly being one of them if they can surprise Glen Ridge. But yeah, I just think right now they're a couple goals better than everybody in the county. They're so strong defensively, and they got Jules Henningberg and Donovan and so many other guys and Spencer Butler, so many scorers and so much depth in the midfield, and defensively they're tough. So yeah, I think they have too many components for the rest of the county this year. The county's a little down, and Seton Hall is a little up from where they were last year, and that's not a good combination for the rest of Essex County.
And it's funny because your goalie, Vanderford from Montclair, you don't see the Mounties getting to the semifinals, and Wassick, the face-off guy from Caldwell, you don't see them getting to the finals. So in 10 days from now, when all the county stuff is done, and there's a huge game involving a New Jersey team today as Jimmy Davidson's Hilltoppers of Summit go to Ridgefield, which is going to be a very low-scoring game. 10 days, 2 weeks from now, how many Jersey teams will be in our top 20 in the Tri-State, partner?
Summit's got to play a good game today. I know for there to be them to be a legitimate team there. I still, the four teams that are there, that have been there, I still believe in. I still think Del Barton, Summit, and Mountain Lakes, and certainly Bergen can be in there. I think with Mountain Lakes, in my estimation, beating Del Barton for the Morris County tournament is going to get everybody's attention, and that's going to keep them there. And Del Barton is still a strong team and still has some staying power as far as a tri-state team, legitimately. And I think Summit's going to play a fantastic game today. I really do. I think defensively they're going to do some awesome things in that matchup zone, and I think they're getting better as a team offensively. Summit never is a team that doesn't get better as the year goes on. I like those four teams, and you know what, Mike? Watch out for Immaculata. Immaculata might sneak in there as a fifth team. So, I'm going to wear the Jersey flag and say maybe five teams there.
Well, so we'll do the new poll tomorrow. We're going to put it to bed tonight because of so many games involving that. I agree. Immaculata, every week we do the poll, they're probably saying, what's wrong with these guys? We beat St. Anthony's, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they are.
Mike, I'm telling you this right now. Do not be surprised in 2 weeks if Ridgewood is in the Tri-State top 20. There's just something about me that thinks the Maroons are going to stand up this week. I don't know why. I just have a funny feeling that Ridgewood is going to be there.
Yeah, you've been saying that, Mike.
I do.
I tell you what, Ridgewood. You got some big fans of Ridgewood now because you've been saying it, and I will qualify that as saying this is not today. You're saying that for any reason. You told me that a week ago that Ridgewood, Bergen better be careful about Ridgewood.
Yeah. Well, and I think, every time in the season, there's that hiccup. Immaculata had it against Watchung Hills. Yep. Ridgewood had it against Glen Ridge, and I think Glen Ridge is better than I thought. But what gets me excited about Ridgewood is they went to New Canaan, led, and then gave that game away. This New Canaan team is very good. There's something about Coach Pound's Maroons that for some reason, in the back of my head, I think, and you look, they were right there until the Cooch scored the game winner to beat them 10-9. So it's a team that I think is on the precipice, big word, of doing something good. So
I love.
That's
it.
You
know what else too, Mike?
Yeah.
I said Nate Chung, and what a fabulous year he's having for Ramapo was my goalie. Jack Cardew may be the most underrated goalie in the state of New Jersey. Why? Because he backed up Noah Pounds for 3 years.
There you go.
He is doing a fabulous job for Ridgewood. He's a guy who can change a game. He's a guy who can win a game, and Bergen Catholic's going to have to shoot well. Now, Bergen Catholic does shoot well. They're the best shooting team in the state of New Jersey. But they're going to have to be special because if Jack Cardew is hot early, I absolutely agree. Ridgewood will cause trouble throughout the tournament in its counties and in the states.
Buddy, I can promise you this right now. If Ridgewood makes it to the championship, they ain't losing to Bergen Catholic by 7 goals like they did in the regular season. That's not happened. So Bergen right now, could they, tomorrow, with the number 1 team in the Tri-State, Smithtown West, losing, is there any way the Crusaders could be the number 1 team in the Tri-State? The way I look at it right now, off the top of my head, there are only 2 unbeaten teams remaining in the Tri-State. Is that possible? Bergen Catholic and Darien. Do I show my Connecticut bias and put Darien at number 1? Or does Bergen Catholic go to number 1? Or is there somebody out there that could move to number 1 ahead of both of them? What do you think?
I think Bergen is a team that's certainly worthy of taking that mantle if that presents itself. I would put complete faith in that team as being the team, the standard bearer for New Jersey. And Mike, I'm sorry, my number 1 team in New Jersey can play with anybody in the Tri-State, and I don't care what anybody in Long Island says. My best team, my number 2 team, my number 3 team can play with almost anybody in the Tri-State every single year. Down to 5 and 6 and 7, no. Long Island is king. There's no doubt about it. I will say that. But my number 1 team in New Jersey, I will put them in a game against anybody. Bergen's my number 1 team. I have complete faith in the Crusaders.
I like it when Kinney gets passionate. All right, buddy. I will see you if Ridgewood makes it to the Bergen County Final. I will be at the Greenwich Darien game, and I will scoot over to Mawa High School and watch that game with you. How's that?
And you're going to get a standing ovation from Ridgewood when you walk into the game, Mike. I guarantee it.
Well, God knows everybody at Bergen thinks I have enough maroon and white clothes because of Don Bosco. I'll see you next week, everybody.